This video covers the first episode of the Groomer Schools series, which was researched and produced by James Lindsay. The Groomer Schools series uncovers the intentional plan by the left to obliterate the innocence of your children through sexualization. This video will explain, in detail, not only the nefarious intentions of sexualizing your children to obliterate their innocence, but will psychologically detail the depths of this plan. Viewer discretion is advised. If you are a Gen Xer like me and grew up in the 1980s, your first exposure to a child sex groomer was Mr. Horton, the bicycle shop owner on that episode of Different Strokes. Arnold and Dudley were groomed by Mr. Horton in a slow and innocuous way. Mr. Horton would invite them to his bike shop, and then invite them to hang out in his apartment located in the back of the bike shop. He would give Arnold and Dudley ice cream sundaes, joke around with them, and eventually show them adult-themed dirty magazines and cartoons. Arnold was shocked by the dirty content of the magazines and the cartoons. Mr. Horton addressed Arnold's shock by saying, "It's not dirty, it's adult, and we are all adults, aren't we?" This led to Mr. Horton persuading Dudley to take off his shirt and pose for pictures. The link to this full episode will be in the description. The issue of sexual abuse was creepy and scary then, but it's even creepier and scarier now. You'll see. The word groom means to prepare or to make ready for. Sexual grooming would then mean when an adult begins to slowly introduce adult-themed content or practices to prepare the child for adult-themed activities. In other words, to stealthily prepare children for sexual abuse. The sexual grooming that's being done to your kids in school and in the culture intentionally exposes them to adult sexual themes, like having pornographic images of sex scenes in books in their school's library. The constant dialogue about sex, gender, and the different variations of sexual proclivities other than heterosexual relationships, and events like Drag Queen Story Hour. The left's primary intent of sexually grooming your kids is to shatter your children's psyches and strip them of their innocence, causing a destabilized and, quite frankly, mentally ill child. It's important to note that even if the grooming process does not result in a physical sexual violation, the psychological damage has already been done on a deep level. This boundary violation results in a lifelong distrust of the world, and most importantly, a distrust within themselves. The child's core sense of self and safety has been completely shattered and violated. Psychologists refer to this type of abuse as CSA, or child sexual abuse, and has long been considered trauma. To understand the twisted mindset of Marxists and why they are sexually grooming your kids, let's start with a big picture social analysis and then work down to the psychological details. The Marxist goal is to achieve utopia, an imaginary perfect society. The Marxist route to achieve utopia is not by building or creating new systems for people to flourish. No, but quite the opposite. It's to criticize, tear down, and destroy everything they don't agree with. From that crashing and burning of society, they believe a new enlightened society will emerge, ushering in utopia. In the 1920s, a Marxist named George Lukács figured out that the only way to achieve utopia, also known as the final stage of communism, is to go after the children and destabilize their psyches. Lukács determined the best and most effective way to destabilize kids is to sexualize them and, quote-unquote, obliterate their innocence. Another Marxist, Antonio Gramsci, said to go into the cultural institutions and destabilize them from within, meaning go directly into the schools. Gramsci's suggestions focused on destroying the nuclear family and family values because that was the key to the breakdown of a functioning culture. Your children are being groomed to not say no. As noted, child sexual abuse is trauma, which results in higher rates of depression, anxiety, PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, and most significantly, personality disorders like borderline personality disorder. Personality disorders cannot be helped by medication, and long-term therapy is crucial to help rebuild a functioning sense of self. Sound ugly? Let's go deeper. Look at this diagram. It illustrates the general cycle of a functioning society, starting with a small child in grade school, ascending through the stages of development, rites of passage, and eventually reaching adulthood and becoming a productive and functioning member of society. The adult ideally has a family, has kids, rinse and repeat, and the cycle begins all over again. This cycle is called the reproduction of society, coined by Paulo Freire, one of the most influential modern Marxists. According to Freire, this cycle needs to be abolished so American culture as we know it will cease to exist. Here's where it gets purely evil. As you can see from the diagram, there is an ascension from functioning child to functioning adult. This evolution and growth is possible only by having sound mental health, sound emotional health, a solid, clear, and strong sense of self or identity, resilience, and good boundaries. These traits would constitute a healthy, well-adjusted person. Let's call these traits the glue. Point blank, the Marxists are going after this glue and are actively trying to dissolve it. This glue is formed during the most crucial early childhood development years and continues through adulthood. Lukács figured out the best way to prevent the glue from even forming is by sexualizing the child and stripping them of their innocence. The Marxist plan, in a nutshell, is 1. To stop the reproduction of society so that society will no longer continue in a functional state, and 2. The way to prevent society from functioning is by dissolving the glue that synthesizes the cycle of reproduction, and the core of this glue begins with a child's innocence. Here is a visual representation of what a healthy, well-adjusted psyche looks like. This box is formed, has a shape, has its purpose, and therefore an identity. The box can fulfill its duty, whatever that may be, and navigate itself through life. Here is what the psyche looks like if it is not well-adjusted, fully formed, or has a clear identity. The psyche is fragmented and destabilized. The parts are there, but cannot function as a whole and will have tremendous challenges functioning to its full potential. Oftentimes, a fragmented psyche will manifest in a disordering of functionality, like previously mentioned. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, and personality disorders will significantly increase. As we already know, the Marxist ideology that's being taught in schools is a religion. More importantly, Marxism is psychological warfare. Everything we know to be true about what a healthy, normal, well-adjusted person is being intentionally destroyed through sexualization of your children. Your children are only pawns for the Marxists to achieve utopia. Their psyches are being abused so their fragile and innocent minds can be molded and brainwashed into the Marxist ideology. Now that you know the true intention behind what's being taught and why it's being taught in your kid's school, what are you going to do about it? Thank you for watching till the end. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so I can keep making these videos. It really helps the algorithms when you do. Thank you so much. Bye!